Salut les gars, aujourd'hui on est à Sacramento en compagnie de Caleb, le fondateur de Connected, et Ted, le fondateur de Alien Labs. How is it going, guys?
Good, man. How you doing?
Excellent.
Me too. Thank you. So with them, we are going to see how California can serve as a model for France regarding cannabis. To start, can you tell us why you got into the cannabis game?
I've been selling weed since I was 12 years old. I started buying weed when I was 12, and it's a very expensive habit to have for a 12-year-old. So I figured out, well, I'm one of the only people that know where to get the weed at that age. And so if I got it, I could take a little bit of it and sell the rest and smoke for free. So
That's very young.
yeah, I started doing it that way, and then it just continued to progress. And then I learned you can make money, and it was much better than regular work. And I was smoking all the best weed for free. And
Okay, and you tell.
Yeah, my story is pretty similar. You know, where I'm from in Reading, that's like kind of what a lot of people do. It's just weed. So my family, they grew weed and sold it, and I just found that was the easiest way for me to make money. So I would just, when I was in high school, I would go to my aunt and she would sell me weed and I'd sell it and sell packs of it. And then I just kind of led myself into this, you know. I joke, but in Reading, you can either sell weed to make money or you can be a firefighter. And I didn't, you know, I'm not really set up to be a firefighter. So.
Okay, but today a lot of people have diplomas, and on the market it doesn't have any value to have an MBA or stuff like that. So why have you been to university?
when I was selling weed before university, I went to Chico State, which is about an hour and a half north of here. There wasn't a prospect of being a professional weed dealer. So I was selling weed always to make money, to just get to the next step. But, you know, that was 25 years ago. And so I just paid for my way through college, and I thought, I need this degree to get a job. And then I realized after getting the degree that didn't really matter. I could get a job.
Yeah.
And then I soon realized that none of the jobs were as good as selling weed. And weed was just starting to become legal a little bit, like more, there's a couple shops here and there. I was still doing it illegally. But then I realized there's a way to do it kind of legally, and said goodbye to the degree. And I mean, but I learned some things in college. I mean, I learned how to balance a lot of stressful things, whether it's getting good grades, and you got to balance, you know, having a good time, paying your bills, going to school, and just meeting goals. And that's what I learned from school.
And how did you manage with the homework? Because you started really young. At 12 years old, you have a lot of homework.
I took the money that I made from selling weed and paid people to do my homework.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, it's just that homework. I mean, but that's how life works, right? I mean, really, like when you start a company, you can't do everything yourself. So you hire people to pay people to do it for you.
If you want to earn time, you have to lose money.
Yeah, like I realized that I was never going to write an essay or do algebra in real life. So is it more important to figure out how to get through it and do what I want to do, what's going to make me more money? Or is it more important to learn how to do it? I chose to figure out how to pay people, and that worked great.
Okay, nice. And us in France, we have very restrictive policies, you know, on the plant, despite being the biggest consumers in Europe. What are the biggest challenges you face in this industry?
Man, that's a tough one. For just as like a consumer packaged good, for us is like figuring out what our customers actually want and need. You know, in a lot of other industries, there's data on customers, and there's like subsects of customers. Like, hey, this person likes, you know, this kind of product, and we don't really have that in cannabis. You find people kind of all over use cannabis products, and like dividing them up into, you know, what type of person it is has been pretty hard for us to do. You know, and of course, growing quality cannabis at scale, you know, isn't easy. It's hard, but we have figured that out, you know, pretty well. And I think that's one of the main reasons that we've been so successful, is just like figuring out how to really drive quality product at scale is not easy.
Yeah, it's the same in France, because people are looking for different effects, but you have your specialties. So you have to match your specialties with the demand and keep a large menu.
That's
to
right.
satisfy everybody.
That's kind of what we do. We have a big varied menu of tons of different stuff on it.
And is that why you unified Collected and Alien Labs?
Well, it's one of the reasons for sure, but the main reasons for me was that Caleb. I've always looked up to Caleb in the business sense because he's always been really good at the business side of cannabis, like getting licensing and getting all permits and all the stuff that we didn't know how to do, just as some guys that fucking grew weed and sold it. So we both had a lot of good synergies when we came together that created the powerhouse. Really, it was both brands combined, doing things that they're both great at that made one great company.
Okay, in France, the current government stigmatizes a lot in the cannabis industry and makes things really difficult. Banks don't finance us. They even refuse to open accounts. How did you overcome obstacles in California?
We still have those challenges today. I still cannot get a bank account, my personal bank account. We still can't bank at Chase, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. The big banks are still closed to us. We still cannot get financing. You just figure it out, but it's what we've always done in this industry is figure it out. I mean, it's more legal now than it was before, but we face a lot of the same challenges. The irony is I used to be able to get bank accounts when cannabis was more illegal because the banks didn't really understand it and they weren't paying attention. But the more legal it became, the more public I became as a cannabis business person, the more challenging everything in my life became from a financial perspective. I got denied for a car loan on my recent car. I can't refinance my mortgage. I cannot have a bank account, a personal checking account with the banks that are all close to me. I have to go to smaller credit unions. So those challenges are still here and I don't see them going away. Slowly they get a little bit better, but then surprisingly in other ways they get worse.
I understand. And you, Ted?
Same. I mean, yeah. I was lucky that, Caleb is a face. He has the permits are in his name. I don't have anything like that. So I've been lucky to kind of be a little bit more under the radar. But yeah, I mean, just that's what we do in cannabis. We figure out the things that we need to do to survive. And I think if anything, cannabis, operators and cannabis entrepreneurs are great survivors. So they figure that they're like cockroaches, you can't kill them. They just keep coming back. So
I understand. And how do you see the evolution of California laws about cannabis?
Well, California laws are pretty progressive. The taxes are bad, the permits are bad, the regulations are there. They allow us to operate. We're here today. It's more about the federal changes that need to happen. And there's a lot of discussion of that right now, but it's not enough. It won't change our world. It won't change the way we do business. Hardly at all. It gives us a little bit benefit on the tax side if there's some of the federal changes from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, which is being talked about right now, but it's still federally illegal. If a president decided tomorrow that he wanted to enforce cannabis laws, I could go to prison for 20 years tomorrow, no problem. I am guilty of the cannabis laws that are on the books today, and I could go to prison if they wanted to enforce those. So, I mean, we've got a long ways to go. We've come a long way, but the majority of the progress that has been made in the cannabis business has been pushed by operators like myself, challenging the rules, pushing the envelope, and seeing what the local government, the state government, or the federal government will tolerate. And while a lot of the rules haven't changed, the way that they enforce them or tolerate them is what really has changed. And so we're still at risk. Technically, we are a business that has to live in some form of risk at all times, different from any other business.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. How do you figure out with the black market that doesn't have its taxes? Because I know that there is a lot of people that buy in the street, and it's bad competition for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's very challenging. the black market has always posed some sort of an issue. The interesting thing is the black market, I think, is bigger today than it has ever been. Now, I think people used to think because there was only the black market that it used to be bigger.
Yeah.
It's not true. The black market today is funded and fueled, and the products come from the legal market. So you have the protection of the legal market pushing products into the black market that make it bigger and safer to operate in the black market than ever. But in terms of how we deal with that, I mean, look, all our product has to be tested. We have a regulatory agency that checks on us on a regular basis. And a lot of consumers, especially the newer consumers, don't know a drug dealer down the street. They don't have those connections. They never did. And they'll never feel comfortable going to some guy's house or meeting someone in some parking lot. They'll be the people that were always able and comfortable with that. But the vast majority of the customers today that purchase cannabis in the legal market do so because it's safe, because there's information, because there's companies that they recognize. They know the face of me, they know the face of him, and they trust over time that we are people that will provide a quality product and service that they can know will be the same every time. And then there's the test results. In the black market, they're taking a gamble, and a lot of people aren't willing to take a gamble, but there'll always be people willing to take a gamble for a lower price. We just have to continue to serve the customers that aren't interested. They're interested in safety, quality, and reputation more than price. And those are the people that we serve, and those are the customers that we are focused on.
In France, we hope that California's success can inspire legalization. Do you think California could inspire countries like France?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Spain, as I understand it, started the same way California did. Cannabis clubs, right? Memberships, right? It wasn't really legal. Where does the weed come from? And they're progressing about the same time it took California, right? And it's getting better, and the quality is getting better, and the number of them are getting better, and the reputation is getting more, and you're seeing California brands for sale in those places. And so absolutely, California seems to be the inspiration and the model for new countries. Everything's going to be a little bit different, right? Even Germany started off like super constricted, and they seem to be moving in a way closer to California. So I think California will be the model for cannabis when it comes to rules and regulations and the culture and the quality, the genetics. California started this whole thing and has always done it better and differently, and I think will continue to be the model for whether it's a new state within the United States or a new country anywhere in the world.
Even in Thailand, there's a lot of Californian people, Californian brands that drink gin.
Even the products that used to grow the weed, a lot of them were developed in California or in conjunction with California growers. Maybe it was a Dutch company working with California growers or an East Coast company, but the products were tested here usually. And so even a lot of the grow lights, right? I mean, a lot of them were produced in Holland, but a lot of the stuff being made today is being made and tested in California. Wherever in the world it's being made, it's being tested in California, and its success is determinant upon California growers adopting it or rejecting it. And so every piece of the business will be influenced from what happens in California, no matter if it started somewhere else.
Yeah, so California is the center.
Yeah, I believe that. And it's not just because I'm in California. I visit these other markets, and really, you see California influence everywhere you look. And I don't think it can be denied. Of course, there are little pieces of Dutch cannabis and East Coast United States cannabis and even genetics, right? We're taking landrace strains. A lot of the genetics that made Connected possible, you can likely trace back their genetic roots to the Kush area, right? Those small, compact, purple resinous plants. And now what's becoming more common is finding sativas and landrace sativas, Thai sativas, Mexican sativas, Central American sativas, and then crossing them with California stabilized genetics. So no matter where it comes from, it came here, we made it better, we made it different. And I don't mean better like quality to quality, like commercially viable, so you can grow it and produce it in a manner that is profitable and beneficial to all the people, and no matter what product that they're looking for.
Can you share some examples of the impact of Connected and Alien Lab on the local communities?
I mean, just the tax revenue for Sacramento, I think Connected might be one of the largest tax-paying entities in all of Sacramento. And Sacramento is the capital of California, which is the 5th largest economy in the world. The tax is, insane how much we pay. And they're able to go on and make so many programs that benefit, the homeless and make the streets nicer and just infrastructure. The tax also, it funds a lot of the police activity, for better or worse, like what we're buying and or what we're selling and how much we're paying in taxes affects the community in a positive way because they have more money to do the things they want to do,
Okay, great. What about the social impact?
So people that had gone to jail, like in Sacramento, there's the CORE program, which people that were affected by the war on drugs, had gone to jail for cannabis-related offenses or any drug-related offenses, were able to get licenses and start a business.
Even if it's not very violent.
Yeah, even if it's not. Yeah, exactly. So they were able to get those licenses because of things they had done in the past that are legal now, and they've been able to have successful. I just interviewed a woman named Ashton, and she owns Urban Roots. It's a cultivation facility here in Sac, and because she was, put in jail for cannabis, 5 years ago, she was able to get to the front of the line for a license, and now she's, a successful cultivator.
And in France, people love new things, and they are keen on what designers like you propose. What projects are you most proud of?
For me, I mean, one of the things that sets Connected and Alien Labs apart is that we breed most of everything that we grow. We do take some things from other people, genetics, but we breed things that are unique, and breeding is hard. It takes a lot of time, a lot of resources, and a lot of things that you produce that you just have to throw away to find 1, 2, 5 things that are successful that people want. And so we've been working, I mentioned a little bit about the sativa program. Sativas are, in the past, they have not been as commercially viable. And we are now making really cool modern day genetics from old genetics sativa genetics that people didn't like or didn't grow anymore for whatever reason. And so we are really we're calling it Sativa Revival. Yeah. And I think that's one of the most interesting things.
You are talking about your books.
That is a great example. That is one of them. And then we have 2 more. We just had a new strain launch on Friday called Tropical Z. It's very heavy sativa dominant cross. And then we have another one called Silver Spoon, which is super silver haze, crossed with some different genetics to give it a little bit more commercial stability in the grow, or a little bit more viable and a little bit different than the old school version of super silver haze. So, it's the impact we've had by creating new genetics and taking the risk, because you can go into the market and find 80% of the products on the shelf are related in some way. They come from a certain pool of genetics. While we have some of those, we're willing to take the chance and try things outside of that circle. Yeah. And that's expensive and it's hard, and you fail sometimes. You produce things that people don't want. But that's part of being, a leader in an industry, is you have to be willing to try things that others aren't.
Yeah. For example, in France, because of the Netherlands influence, people love sativa cannabis. Haze, Amnesia. Amnesia is the most famous strain in France, and even in Spain and Netherlands, Belgium, etc. And how can you see the return on the local market with Californian? Because these people have been used to smoke hybrid genetics, and I know that in California you don't have a lot of offer in the sativa product, though. So maybe, as you say, we'll stay on the hybrid genetics, and they don't have that. What is the return on the local communities, the appetite on sativa genetics?
It's different in the street. In the street, people don't really want sativas. They want the hybrids, they want the candies, they want the same real shit that they've been smoking. But in the rec market, sativa is well wanted. You know, so I think it's just about a different customer base. Your average person walking into a dispensary, they want to try new things and they want to feel more, you know, up and happy. And then people in the street who I think just want to get stoned. And, you know, that's pretty pervasive even here. Like they just want to smoke weed and feel stoned in a way that is, you know, more of a relaxing thing, you know. But a lot of people in the rec market want to smoke sativas. You know, I think like 20 or 30% of the top 20 strains in California are sativas. So it's just a different customer than I think the streets traditionally have. And that really is something that you guys are going to find in legalization too. Like what's popular on the street, and a lot of even companies that are trying to make their way from the street into the rec market are having to find out the hard way that what those offerings on the street where they have 10 different strains that are all pretty similar doesn't really cut it in the rec market. You know, you have to have a varied menu, and that's why you see, you know, the Alien Labs and the Connected menus are pretty different than most of the offerings. You know, we have that kind of traditional customer too, and so we have some of those same types of strains. But for the most part, our menus are tooled around the customer that we have in the rec market, which is different than what we see on the street.
Yeah. As an industry operator, I noticed the differences between our markets. In California, openness to innovation contrasts strongly with the French situation. How do you see the future of the cannabis industry, but globally?
Yeah, once it's global, I mean, it's going to be a lot different. Like I said, we'll be able to actually figure out what kind of customers we have, who they are, and what, you know, we can steer our offerings to what our customer is demanding a little bit better. And I think too, once you'll see too, the innovation thing, most people, especially in the traditional market, are kind of, you know, adverse to innovation. But once you open that up to new customers that haven't been, you know, had these kind of things beat into their head of what they like and, you know, the subcultures that they take part in, what they like, you're going to see just different customers with a new customer base, you know, so they'll be more open to innovation. But especially if you're building your brand, you know, the reason that we can innovate a little bit is because we've, you know, earned that trust of our customers by innovating and them liking it. So now it's like almost what they want from us. It's like, hey, you guys, you put out this new thing that nobody was really doing at the time, and then everyone started doing it. And so, but it was really good. So you earned my trust. I'm going to come back and do the same thing when you put out your next, you know, new and interesting strain.
Okay. I have a personal question
Yeah.
for you both. If you go back to one key moment, which one would it be and why?
It would probably go back to like 2015, 2016, where there was still a little bit more risk of federal, let's say 2013 maybe. There was still a little bit more risk of federal interaction or involvement, and you could go to prison. Some people did go to prison here in Sacramento. I probably would have, in hindsight, I would have gone more aggressively. A lot of people did go more aggressive, and I was a little bit more cautious. And we had opportunities to do bigger things, and we didn't. I don't regret it, but if I had the opportunity to go back,
as you say, it's for security because you lost people.
Yeah, it was for security, but I don't know. I have a pretty good ability to look at risk and decide what is right, and I think I was maybe a little bit more cautious than I could have been. And really, that doesn't just go to 2013. That even goes up to and through legalization, which we had here in 2018. There were some opportunities to do a little bit more, to do a little bit bigger, and I just didn't. And well, like I said, no regrets, but if I could, I would have done more. I would have taken on more opportunities and gone a little bit harder. On the cultivation side, I would have grown more weed.
And you did?
Yeah, the same. I just would have gone harder. You know, we've had a pretty, it hasn't been easy, but it's been less bumpy than it could have been if, we just would have gone harder. That's what I would have done too.
In the same years?
Yeah, I mean, just my whole career. I just would have,
Yeah.
Foregone some of those, some of those trips that I took out of the country. I would have packed more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah,
for the
of
chat,
course,
guys. And where can our subscribers find more about Alien Labs and Connected?
Social media, we got Alien Labs, Connected.California. His social media handle is Counts. Mine's Return to the Alien. You can find us on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. And you can check out our website, join the email list, and you get info all the time. You can check out what we're doing.
Ok les gars, c'est tout pour aujourd'hui. Abonnez-vous et on se revoit pour la suite.